What if Starbucks isn't really selling coffee? Every day, millions of Americans give Starbucks their money before they even receive the product. They load money into an app. They earn rewards. They return again and again. And behind the coffee, Starbucks has quietly built something much more powerful. A system designed to turn everyday purchases into predictable, recurring revenue. Starbucks isn't a bank. But the way it controls money, loyalty, data, and customer habits looks surprisingly similar to a financial ecosystem. And once you understand how it works, you realize the coffee may be only the beginning. When most people think about Starbucks, they think about coffee. A latte. A frappuccino. A drive-thru. A green logo on almost every major American street. But Starbucks has spent decades building a business that goes far beyond selling drinks. Its real product is the relationship with the customer. Because selling one coffee is valuable. But convincing the same customer to return hundreds of times is far more valuable. And Starbucks built its entire business around that idea. One of the most important pieces of this strategy is the Starbucks card. Imagine loading $50 into your Starbucks account. Starbucks receives the money immediately. But you haven't consumed the coffee yet. You haven't ordered anything. You have simply moved money into the Starbucks ecosystem. This is not the same thing as a bank deposit. Starbucks cannot take your balance and lend it out like a bank. But from a business perspective, the concept is incredibly powerful. The customer has already committed money to Starbucks. And now the easiest place to spend that money is Starbucks. The company then adds another layer. Rewards. Instead of simply buying coffee, customers earn stars. The more they interact with Starbucks, the more benefits they can receive. That changes the psychology of spending. A customer isn't simply thinking, "Do I want a $6 coffee?" They may also be thinking, "How many stars will I earn? Am I close to a reward? Should I use my Starbucks balance? Should I order through the app?" The purchase becomes part of a system. And systems create habits. This is why Starbucks Rewards is so important. By early 2026, Starbucks had more than 35 million active US Rewards members. That is an enormous customer database. And these aren't just names sitting inside a computer. Every interaction can provide information. What does a customer order? How frequently do they visit? What time do they usually come? Do they order through the app? How much do they spend? Which promotions influence them? Do they buy food with their coffee? That information can help Starbucks understand its customers in ways a traditional coffee shop simply cannot. And this creates one of Starbucks' most valuable assets. Customer data. Imagine two coffee shops. The first shop sees you walk in, pay cash, and leave. The second shop knows your name, your favorite drink, your purchase history, your typical order time, and how frequently you visit. The coffee might be identical. The business model is not. The second company can personalize offers. It can encourage additional purchases. It can reward frequency. It can make ordering faster. And most importantly, it can create a reason for the customer to come back tomorrow. This is where Starbucks mobile app becomes extremely important. The app isn't just a digital menu. It connects ordering, payment, rewards, personalization, and customer data into one system. You open the app. Your favorite drink is already there. Your payment method is saved. Your rewards balance is visible. Your nearest store is available. You place the order. You pick it up. And the entire process can take less than a minute. That convenience matters. Because every small amount of friction Starbucks removes makes another purchase easier. And easier purchases happen more frequently. This creates what could be called a closed-loop ecosystem. You discover Starbucks. You download the app. You create an account. You load money. You purchase coffee. You earn stars. You receive rewards. You return. And then the cycle begins again. The more you participate, the more useful the system becomes. And the more useful the system becomes, the more difficult it feels to leave. This is similar to the strategy behind some of the world's most powerful technology companies. Apple doesn't simply sell a phone. It builds an ecosystem. Amazon doesn't simply sell products. It builds purchasing habits. Netflix doesn't simply sell movies. It builds a recurring entertainment relationship. Starbucks does something similar with coffee. Its ecosystem is built around a daily ritual. And that ritual is extremely valuable. Because Starbucks doesn't necessarily need every customer to spend hundreds of dollars in one transaction. It needs them to return. Again. And again. And again. Imagine someone spends $6 at Starbucks once a week. That's roughly $312 per year. But imagine Starbucks turns that customer into a 4 times a week customer. The individual transaction hasn't changed dramatically. The frequency has. And frequency is one of the most powerful forces in consumer businesses. This is why Starbucks locations matter so much. The company has thousands of stores across the United States and tens of thousands globally. The stores aren't simply places where coffee is prepared. They are physical access points into the ecosystem. A customer can discover the brand in a store. Then continue the relationship through the app. Then return through a drive-thru. Then earn rewards. Then receive another reason to visit. Physical locations and digital technology reinforce each other. And scale makes this strategy even more powerful. Starbucks generated roughly $37 billion in revenue during fiscal 2025. And in fiscal 2026, the company continued to focus heavily on increasing customer traffic, improving the experience, and rebuilding growth. In the second quarter of fiscal 2026, Starbucks reported approximately $9.5 billion in consolidated revenue. U.S. comparable store sales also increased strongly. But there's something even more interesting. Starbucks can grow revenue in 2 different ways. It can increase the number of transactions. Or it can increase the amount customers spend per transaction. Ideally, it does both. And when millions of customers are involved, even small changes can create enormous financial consequences. But the real genius of Starbucks isn't just the amount customers spend. It's how normal the spending feels. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, "Today I am going to help Starbucks increase its annual revenue." They think, "I want coffee." That difference is incredibly important. The strongest consumer businesses don't make every purchase feel like a financial decision. They make it feel like a routine. And routines are extremely difficult for competitors to break. If another coffee shop sells a cheaper latte, that doesn't automatically mean customers will switch. Because customers aren't only buying coffee. They're buying convenience. They're buying familiarity. They're buying speed. They're buying rewards. They're buying a habit. And sometimes, they're buying identity. That's why Starbucks can charge a premium and still maintain enormous demand. The company isn't competing only on the price of coffee. It's competing on the total customer experience. And Starbucks continues to push this strategy through its rewards program. In 2026, Starbucks redesigned its loyalty system around different membership levels, including Green, Gold, and Reserve. The basic idea is simple. The more you engage, the more benefits you can unlock. This creates progression. And progression encourages continued spending. It is the same psychological principle used by airlines, hotels, gaming companies, and credit card reward programs. You don't want to lose the progress you've already made. You want to reach the next level. And Starbucks can use that motivation to increase customer engagement. But this brings us back to the original question. Is Starbucks actually a financial institution? No. It isn't. Its core business remains selling coffee, food, and related products through company-operated and licensed stores. Starbucks doesn't operate like a traditional bank. It doesn't make its money primarily by lending customer deposits. But Starbucks has built a business model with several financial characteristics. Customers can prepay. Money can remain inside the ecosystem. Purchases become recurring. Rewards encourage future spending. Digital payments reduce friction. And customer data help strengthen retention. The result is a business that isn't dependent on constantly finding new customers. It can generate enormous value from the customers it already has. And that's the real secret. Starbucks isn't simply trying to sell you today's coffee. It's trying to make sure you come back tomorrow. And the day after that. And the day after that. Because one customer buying one coffee is a transaction. But one customer buying coffee 4 times a week for 10 years is an asset. That is the difference between a coffee shop and a consumer ecosystem. And perhaps the biggest lesson from Starbucks has nothing to do with coffee at all. It is about customer lifetime value. The most powerful businesses don't always make the most money from a single transaction. They build systems that make customers return thousands of times. Starbucks understood that early. It turned coffee into a habit. It turned the habit into a loyalty program. It turned loyalty into data. It turned data into personalization.